welcome to another episode of the Margin Max Minute. I am so grateful that you've joined me today. We're going to talk about how to optimize your team today. We want that team optimized, and my commitment to you is to give you something you can implement immediately. Today, the subject is positive drop-ins, or PDIs. We all know about these. We've heard of them over time. They might have been called management by walking around. Some people will refer to the concept of acknowledgement, or simply dropping in to say, I appreciate you, I appreciate your effort, and those kind of things. Now, we don't want to stop doing that. We just want to try to coordinate our communication through positive drop-ins. A big differentiator that I want to talk about today is that positive drop-ins should be executed with intention. So in other words, when you drop in, you want to be thinking about how this interaction is actually going to make the mission more likely to be accomplished. As a senior, it's often your responsibility to create the conditions under which your subordinate can be intrinsically motivated. This is so important. We can't, in my personal opinion, force intrinsic motivation, but creating the conditions to increase intrinsic motivation is very, very important. Intrinsic motivation increases I will refer to as IMIs. So one of the primary motivations and the reason for going into PDIs with intention is to get intrinsic motivation increases. PDIs, therefore, create and increase the likelihood of IMIs. So our acronym tends to be very useful. PDIs drive IMIs. It's a huge reason why everybody talks to everybody else in an organization. What we want to do in this is bring out the human element. In other words, for that moment when we're doing a PDI, it's very important that it's just two human beings having communication. It is somewhat separate from the mission for a moment. It's separate from the initial task. It acknowledges the person's presence and being in the room, certainly just by executing it. But we also are in a listening mode rather than a command and control mode if we're in a superior position. I personally need to work on this in 2023. It's one of my particular weak points, I think, because I tend to get way into my strategy, into my projects that I'm pushing along, really executing everything on my desk. Before I know it, it might be Thursday or Friday, and I haven't even made one PDI. So what I've resourced to, because I'm just that kind of guy that measures things, is I actually have a simple column on my time card where I put a simple tick mark if I do a PDI with a particular individual. And I push those, and what it does is it tells me wow, I really need to get out there and interact with my staff because they haven't even seen me in 4 days or 6 days or 10 days. That can happen. It can happen when busy employees, whether they're in a superior position or whether they're a peer or whether they're a subordinate, actually just get so busy they're not there. So one of the things you should do is make sure to keep a good discipline of PDIs. One other element to the PDI is upward communication. It's very important, in my opinion, just as important for people in subordinate positions to do positive drop-ins with seniors. After all, seniors are people too, and if nothing else, you can just drop in and see how they're going. Again, the timing is very important. The timing has to be thought through, not random, but intentional in terms of getting something done. For instance, we all know that we're going to want to drop in after a significant accomplishment to say, way to go. Maybe we want to drop in at the beginning of a very tough task to say, hey, I know this is really hard. I understand you're embracing the suck, so to speak, and I really appreciate your effort. Well, that goes both ways. It really does. And very healthy organizations that embrace this and you get this kind of all-directional form of PDIs is very, very important. Ultimately, the impact is on intrinsic motivation increases, or IMIs, and everybody in an organization actually needs that kind of support now and then. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that you've gotten something out of this you can implement. I know that if you're watching this at work on your lunch hour, for instance, right now, or listening to this, you can immediately do PDI with intention to increase intrinsic motivation right now. And I hope that you'll do it. It is a huge part of the foundational culture in your organization. So get after it. I hope that you have an excellent week. I appreciate you joining me for this edition of the Margin Max Minute. Remember that you can find me at www.thefitprofessional1 Feel free to email me at paul@thefitprofessional1.com. Also, I encourage you to go online and sign up to subscribe to our podcast and our resource letter. Appreciate you being here again today. And my commitment to you is to bring you actionable information that can maximize your margin, optimize your teams, and rescue your time. I hope that you have a great week. Again, I'm so thankful you've joined me. Let's get to work.